In the sprawling, invisible landscape of the internet, a constant and silent war is being fought every single second of every day. This is not a conflict waged with soldiers and tanks, but with lines of code and malicious intent. On one side of this digital battlefield are the attackers. They are relentless, employing an ever-growing arsenal of sophisticated weapons, from insidious malware and clever phishing schemes to overwhelming brute force attacks. Their goal is simple: to breach defenses, steal valuable data, and cause as much disruption as possible. They probe for weaknesses, exploit vulnerabilities, and move through networks like ghosts, often leaving a trail of chaos in their wake. Against these shadowy adversaries stands a dedicated group of defenders. These are the cybersecurity experts, the digital guardians, who work tirelessly to protect our online world. They fight back not with brute force, but with intelligence, strategy, and a deep understanding of their enemy. They build digital fortresses, patch vulnerabilities, and monitor networks for any sign of intrusion. Their work is a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, where a single mistake can have devastating consequences. This unseen struggle is the backdrop for some of the most innovative and strategic thinking in modern technology, a constant evolution of offense and defense. The Defender's toolkit is vast and varied, ranging from powerful firewalls that act as impenetrable walls to advanced antivirus software that hunts down malicious code. Yet, sometimes the most effective defense is not a shield, but something far more cunning. It is a strategy built on deception, on turning the attacker's own methods against them. Instead of simply blocking an attack, what if you could invite it in? What if you could lay a trap so perfectly disguised that the hacker walks right into it, believing they have found a prize? This is the art of strategic defense, a proactive approach that moves beyond mere reaction to active engagement with the threat. This brings us to one of the most ingenious and fascinating tools in the cybersecurity arsenal. It is a concept born from the world of espionage and adapted for the digital age. We are talking about the Honeypot. It is a clever trap, a decoy system designed to look like a tempting and vulnerable target. It is bait, left out in the open to attract the very people you want to catch. Today, we will pull back the curtain on this remarkable technology. We will explore how these digital traps are set and why they have become an indispensable part of modern cyber defense, turning would-be victors into unwitting sources of intelligence. So what exactly is a honeypot? Imagine you are a security guard tasked with protecting a valuable treasure. Instead of locking it in a vault, you place a fake but incredibly convincing replica in a room with an unlocked door. You then install hidden cameras to watch who comes in and what they do. This is the fundamental principle behind a honeypot. It is a decoy computer system, service, or network that is deliberately designed to be attacked. It looks and feels like a real, legitimate part of a network, perhaps a web server, a database, or a company's file-sharing system. But it is entirely fabricated and isolated from the actual critical systems. The honeypot's primary purpose is not to be a fortress, but to be an irresistible lure. It is intentionally configured with apparent vulnerabilities to attract the attention of cyber criminals scanning the internet for easy targets. To an attacker, it appears to be a low-hanging fruit, a golden opportunity to gain access to a network. They might see an open port, a weak password, or outdated software, all carefully planted to draw them in. Once the attacker takes the bait and begins their intrusion, the honeypot springs its true trap. It is not designed to stop them, but to welcome them into a controlled and monitored environment where their every action can be observed. This is where the true power of the honeypot is revealed. It is not merely a passive decoy, it is an active intelligence-gathering tool. As the hacker explores the fake system, attempting to escalate their privileges, install malware, or steal an organization's fake data, everything they do is meticulously logged. Every keystroke, every command entered, and every file uploaded is recorded for later analysis. This provides cybersecurity professionals with a unique and unfiltered view into the mind of an attacker. It is like having a direct window into their tactics, techniques, and procedures without ever putting your real assets at risk. By studying this invaluable data, defenders can gain critical insights that are impossible to obtain through other means. They can learn about new types of malware in the wild, identify the IP addresses of attackers, and understand the specific exploits being used to target systems like theirs. This intelligence is then used to strengthen the defenses of the real network, patching the actual vulnerabilities that the attacker tried to exploit on the decoy. In this way, the honeypot turns the tables completely. It transforms a potential threat into a learning opportunity, allowing defenders to outsmart their adversaries by using the attacker's own efforts against them. At its core, a honeypot is a masterpiece of digital deception, carefully constructed to mimic a real and valuable target. Think of it as a digital stage set, where every element is designed to convince the audience, the attacker, that what they are seeing is genuine. This illusion is built upon three fundamental components that work together in harmony: the decoy, the monitor, and the intelligence collection system. The decoy element is the most visible part. It could be a simple emulation of a service, like a fake login page for a bank, or it could be a fully functional, albeit isolated operating system, complete with fake user accounts, fabricated documents, and seemingly important corporate data. The key is authenticity. It must be tempting enough to draw an attacker in and keep them engaged. The second component, the monitor, is the hidden genius of the operation. While the attacker believes they are moving stealthily through a compromised system, their every action is being watched. This monitoring is comprehensive and operates at a deep level. It does not just record failed login attempts. It captures the very commands the attacker types into the terminal, the tools they download to the fake system, and the methods they use to try and cover their tracks. This surveillance is completely invisible to the intruder. They are, in essence, performing for an unseen audience, revealing their entire playbook without realizing they are in a controlled environment designed specifically for observation. Finally, all the information gathered by the monitor flows into the third component, the intelligence collection system. This is where the raw data is stored, organized, and prepared for analysis. The logs are the treasure trove. They contain a chronological record of the entire intrusion, from the initial connection to the final command executed. This data is far more than just a simple list of events. It is a rich narrative of the attack. Cybersecurity teams can see precisely which vulnerabilities were targeted, what kind of malware was deployed, and what the attacker's ultimate objective might have been. Was it data theft, vandalism, or were they trying to establish a persistent backdoor for future access? These three parts, decoy, monitor, and intelligence collection, form a symbiotic relationship. The decoy attracts the threat, the monitor observes its behavior, and the collection system preserves the evidence for study. This structure allows defenders to turn a purely defensive posture into a proactive intelligence gathering mission. Instead of waiting to be hit and then trying to figure out what happened, they create a safe space to study their adversaries in real time. The honeypot, therefore, is not just a trap. It is a sophisticated instrument for understanding the ever-evolving landscape of cyber threats, providing the insights needed to build stronger, more resilient defenses against real-world attacks. One of the most powerful aspects of a honeypot is its function as a live laboratory for cybersecurity research. In the controlled environment of a honeypot, defenders can study attacker behavior in its most natural form. When hackers believe they have successfully breached a real system, they use their genuine tools and techniques. This provides an unparalleled opportunity to see exactly how they operate, step by step. Researchers can observe the specific commands used to navigate a file system, the scripts deployed to search for sensitive information, and the methods employed to escalate privileges from a standard user to an administrator. This is practical, actionable intelligence that you simply cannot get from theoretical models or simulations. This learning extends to understanding the motivations and goals that drive different types of attackers. For instance, logs might reveal an unsophisticated script kiddie who is simply running automated tools they found online, blindly probing for any open door. In contrast, another intrusion might show the patient and methodical approach of a more advanced, persistent threat actor who is carefully mapping out the network and searching for specific high-value assets. By analyzing these different patterns of behavior, organizations can better tailor their defenses. They can learn to distinguish between low-level noise and a serious targeted attack, allowing them to prioritize their response efforts more effectively and focus resources where they are most needed. Furthermore, honeypots are invaluable for capturing and analyzing new forms of malware. When an attacker uploads a malicious file to a honeypot, they are essentially handing over a sample for study in a safe, contained sandbox. Security analysts can then reverse engineer this malware to understand its payload, how it spreads, and what its command and control infrastructure looks like. This process is crucial for developing new antivirus signatures, creating patches for the vulnerabilities the malware exploits, and even tracking down the servers that control it. It is a proactive way to get ahead of emerging threats before they can cause widespread damage to real production systems across the globe. Ultimately, the honeypot transforms the defender from a passive victim into an active student of cyber warfare. It provides a constant stream of real-world data on the latest attack vectors and adversary tactics. This information feeds a continuous cycle of improvement. The insights gained from one honeypot intrusion can be used to strengthen firewalls, update intrusion detection rules, and educate employees about new phishing techniques. It is a dynamic feedback loop where the actions of the attackers are used to make the real network progressively more secure. In this sense, every attack on a honeypot is not a failure, but a successful lesson learned. While the intelligence-gathering capabilities of a honeypot are its most celebrated feature, its strategic value actually extends far beyond simple observation. One of its most effective secondary functions is that of distraction and deception. A well-crafted honeypot can act as a sacrificial lamb, drawing the attention and resources of an attacker away from the real high-value assets of a network. Imagine, for a moment, a hacker has found a way into what they think is a critical server. They might spend hours or even days meticulously exploring the fake environment, attempting to exfiltrate fabricated data and establish a foothold. All this time and effort is completely wasted on a system that has no actual value. This diversionary tactic is incredibly powerful. Every minute an attacker spends inside a honeypot is a minute they are not spending trying to breach your actual production servers, databases, or customer information portals. It effectively drains their resources and can induce a sense of frustration and confusion. For a large organization facing numerous attacks, this can be a crucial element of their defense-in-depth strategy. By strategically placing honeypots across their network perimeter, they can create a confusing and hostile landscape for intruders, making it significantly harder for them to identify and focus on the genuine targets. It is a form of digital misdirection that adds a valuable layer of complexity to the defensive posture. Another strategic benefit is its role as a high-fidelity early warning system. Because a honeypot has no legitimate production purpose, any traffic or interaction it receives is, by definition, suspicious. There is just no reason for a regular user or a legitimate service to ever connect to it. Therefore, the very first alert from a honeypot is a clear and unambiguous signal that someone is actively probing your network for weaknesses. This provides a much earlier warning than traditional security tools, which often have to sift through vast amounts of legitimate traffic to find malicious activity, leading to a higher chance of false positives. A honeypot alarm is almost always a genuine cause for concern. This early warning gives the security team a critical head start. They know that an adversary is at the gates, and they can immediately shift into a heightened state of alert, scrutinizing logs on real systems more closely and preparing their incident response plan. In essence, the honeypot acts as a tripwire at the very edge of the network. It reveals the presence of an attacker before they have had a chance to reach the crown jewels. This combination of early detection, resource-draining deception, and invaluable intelligence gathering makes the honeypot far more than just a clever trap. It is a multifaceted strategic asset that enables defenders to fight smarter, not just harder. So, why would a cybersecurity team go to the trouble of setting up these elaborate digital traps? One of the most compelling reasons is that a honeypot serves as a phenomenal early warning system. Consider a typical corporate network. It is a bustling hub of activity, with thousands of legitimate connections happening every minute. Employees are accessing files, servers are communicating with each other, and customers are interacting with web applications. Trying to spot a single malicious probe within this sea of normal traffic is like trying to hear a pin drop in the middle of a rock concert. It is incredibly difficult, and genuine threats can easily be missed amongst the noise. A honeypot, however, changes this dynamic completely. By its very nature, a honeypot has no legitimate business purpose. No employee should ever be accessing it, and no normal business process should ever connect to it. This means that any interaction with the honeypot is, by definition, suspicious. There are no false positives to worry about. The moment a honeypot registers a login attempt or a port scan, it acts as a high-fidelity alarm bell. It is an unambiguous signal that an unauthorized entity is actively scouting your network, searching for vulnerabilities to exploit. This provides a clear, early indication of a potential attack in progress. This early detection is absolutely critical. In the world of cybersecurity, time is the most valuable resource. Knowing that your network is being targeted before the attacker has found a way to breach your real systems gives the defense team a significant advantage. They can move from a passive, watchful state to a high alert posture, scrutinizing traffic on their genuine servers more closely. They can begin to hunt for related suspicious activity across the rest of the network, armed with the knowledge that a threat is present. It is the difference between finding out your house has been burgled the next morning and being alerted the moment someone starts rattling your front gate. Ultimately, the Honeypot acts as a digital tripwire placed at the very perimeter of your defenses. While firewalls and intrusion detection systems are essential for blocking known threats and analyzing traffic, a honeypot is designed to detect the unknown and the exploratory. It catches the reconnaissance phase of an attack, a stage that often precedes a full-blown assault. By providing this clean, undeniable signal of hostile intent, it gives security professionals the precious head start they need to mobilize their defenses, investigate the threat, and prevent a minor probe from escalating into a major security incident. It is a proactive defense in a world of reactive measures. Beyond serving as an early warning system, a honeypot is an unparalleled research tool. It functions as a live laboratory, providing a safe and controlled environment to study the tactics, techniques, and procedures of real-world attackers. When hackers believe they have successfully infiltrated a system, they operate without restraint, using their preferred tools and methods. A honeypot captures every detail of this activity, offering a raw, unfiltered look into the mind of the adversary. This is not theoretical knowledge from a textbook. It is practical, real-world intelligence gathered directly from the source. It is like being able to watch a burglar case a house, note which windows they check, and see what tools they use, all without any risk to your own property. This detailed observation allows security teams to build a comprehensive profile of their attackers. They can analyze the commands used, the types of vulnerabilities exploited, and the ultimate goals of the intrusion. For example, the logs might show an attacker running scripts to search for files containing words like password or confidential. This insight can inform internal data classification policies and help defenders better protect truly sensitive information on their real systems. By understanding what the attackers are looking for, you can make it significantly harder for them to find it. This research turns every attempted attack into a valuable lesson in how to strengthen your defenses. Furthermore, honeypots are exceptional at capturing new and emerging malware samples in the wild. When an attacker uploads a malicious payload to the honeypot, they are effectively delivering a fresh specimen directly to the security team's doorstep. This sample can then be safely detonated and analyzed in an isolated sandbox environment. Analysts can reverse engineer the malware to understand its purpose, how it communicates with command and control servers, and how it propagates. This information is vital for creating new antivirus signatures, developing patches for exploited vulnerabilities, and working with law enforcement to take down malicious infrastructure. This research capability allows organizations to stay one step ahead in the cybersecurity arms race. Instead of waiting for ransomware to hit the headlines, they can discover and analyze it before it becomes widespread. The intelligence gathered from a honeypot feeds into a cycle of continuous improvement, where adversary actions are used to build more robust security postures. The honeypot is not just about catching individual hackers. It's about collecting strategic intelligence to defend against entire classes of threats, making the digital world safer for everyone. Another powerful reason to use a honeypot lies in the subtle art of misdirection. A well-placed honeypot is an excellent tool for distracting attackers and, honestly, wasting their most valuable assets, their time and resources. When a hacker gains access to what appears to be a vulnerable and valuable system, they're likely to invest significant effort into exploring it, escalating their privileges, and attempting to exfiltrate the fake data it contains. Every second they spend interacting with this decoy is a second they're not spending trying to find and compromise the actual, critical assets of the organization. It's a brilliant way to keep your enemy occupied with a phantom prize. This diversionary tactic can be incredibly effective, especially against more determined attackers. A sophisticated honeypot can keep an intruder engaged for hours, days, or even weeks. During this time, the security team is not only gathering intelligence on the attacker's methods, but is also actively preventing them from making any real progress. The honeypot becomes a resource drain, consuming the attacker's focus and computational power. For large organizations that are constantly under siege, creating a confusing and deceptive network landscape filled with such traps makes the attacker's job exponentially harder. It forces them to question what is real and what is a decoy, sowing doubt and frustration. This strategy also serves to protect the organization's genuine systems from harm. By luring attackers towards an isolated and monitored environment, you're effectively diverting them away from your crown jewels, the customer databases, financial records, and intellectual property that are the true targets. The honeypot acts as a sacrificial system, absorbing the brunt of the attack and allowing the real production environment to continue operating safely. This layer of deception adds a crucial element to a defense-in-depth strategy, ensuring that even if an attacker gets past the initial perimeter defenses, they're met with more traps rather than valuable targets. Finally, this act of deception can also be a powerful tool for identifying insider threats. A honeypot, disguised as a highly sensitive server, such as one containing executive salary information or unreleased product designs, should never be accessed by regular employees. If an internal user account suddenly starts probing this decoy system, it's a massive red flag indicating a potential rogue employee or a compromised internal account. In this way, the honeypot's strategic value is multifaceted. It is an early warning system, a research lab, a resource drain, and a tool for misdirection, all wrapped into one clever, deceptive package. Not all honeypots are created equal. They come in various forms, each designed with a different balance of risk, complexity, and the depth of intelligence it can gather. The most common and straightforward type is the low-interaction honeypot. Think of this as the basic entry-level trap. These systems do not run a full, complex operating system. Instead, they emulate specific services and protocols that attackers frequently target. For instance, a low-interaction honeypot might pretend to be an SSH server, a web server, or an FTP server, but it's only a simulation. It mimics just enough of the service to trick automated scanning tools and unsophisticated attackers into revealing their presence. The primary advantage of low-interaction honeypots is their simplicity and safety. Because they're not running a real operating system, there is very little for an attacker to actually compromise. The intruder can interact with the fake service, perhaps by attempting a few common usernames and passwords, but they can't gain deep control or use the system to launch further attacks. This limited interaction significantly reduces the risk of the honeypot being taken over and used for malicious purposes. They're also relatively easy to set up and maintain, making them an excellent choice for organizations that are just beginning to explore honeypot technology or have limited resources to manage complex systems. However, this simplicity comes with a trade-off. The limited nature of the emulation means that a low-interaction honeypot can only gather basic information. It can effectively log connection attempts, capture the IP addresses of attackers, and record the usernames and passwords used in brute force attacks. This is valuable for detecting scanning activity and identifying the sources of automated attacks, but it can't provide deep insights into an attacker's post-exploitation behavior. A sophisticated hacker will likely recognize the limitations of the simulated environment very quickly and disengage, knowing that they're dealing with a decoy and not a genuine vulnerable system. Despite these limitations, low-interaction honeypots serve a crucial purpose. They're perfect as widespread, simple sentinels. An organization can deploy dozens of them across its network to act as an expansive tripwire system. They're highly effective at collecting statistical data on the background noise of the internet, revealing patterns in automated botnet activity and common reconnaissance techniques. For capturing high-volume, low-sophistication threats and providing that vital early warning signal, these simple traps are an indispensable and low-risk tool in the defender's arsenal. They're the foot soldiers of the honeypot world, reliably guarding the digital front line. For defenders who need to understand their enemy on a much deeper level, the high-interaction honeypot is the tool of choice. Unlike their low-interaction counterparts, these are not mere simulations. A high-interaction honeypot is a fully functional, real system. It runs a genuine operating system like Windows or Linux, complete with all the services, applications, and vulnerabilities you'd expect to find on a standard server or workstation. It's a much more convincing and elaborate decoy, designed to provide a rich, interactive environment for an attacker to explore. To the intruder, it looks and feels exactly like the real thing, a genuine prize they've successfully compromised. The goal of a high-interaction honeypot is to offer attackers a full playground where they can operate freely. Once inside, they can attempt to install their tools, create backdoors, escalate their privileges, and move laterally to explore other parts of the fake network. This freedom is what makes these honeypots so valuable. It allows security researchers to observe the attacker's complete methodology from start to finish. They can see not just how the attacker got in, but what they do once they're inside. This provides an incredibly rich stream of intelligence, revealing novel attack techniques, new malware strains, and the specific strategic objectives of sophisticated adversaries. This depth of insight, however, comes with a significant increase in risk. Because a high-interaction honeypot is a real operational system, there's a genuine danger that a skilled attacker could compromise it completely. If not properly configured and isolated, an attacker could potentially use the honeypot as a launchpad to attack other systems on the internet. Or even worse, find a way to break out of the contained environment and pivot into the organization's real production network. Managing a high-interaction honeypot requires constant vigilance and a high degree of expertise to ensure the trap does not turn against its creators. These systems are therefore best suited for dedicated security research teams, large enterprises, and government agencies with the resources and knowledge to manage them safely. They're the deep-sea submarines of cyber defense, capable of diving into the darkest corners of attacker methodology. While low-interaction honeypots map the surface currents of the internet, high-interaction honeypots explore the abyssal plains where the most dangerous predators lurk. The intelligence they gather is unparalleled, providing the critical insights needed to defend against the most advanced and persistent threats facing the digital world today. While server-side honeypots that mimic services like SSH and HTTP are the most common, the world of honeypots is far more diverse. As attackers have evolved, so too have the traps designed to catch them. This has led to the development of highly specialized honeypots, each tailored to a specific type of threat. One important category is the client-side honeypot. Instead of waiting passively to be attacked, these honeypots actively seek out malicious servers. They are designed to act like a user's web browser, crawling the internet and visiting potentially dangerous websites to see how the servers respond and if they attempt to exploit vulnerabilities in the client. The purpose of a client-side honeypot is to detect malicious web servers that are hosting drive-by download attacks or browser-based exploits. When the honeypot visits a malicious URL, it carefully monitors for any unauthorized changes to its system, such as the silent installation of malware or attempts to redirect to a phishing page. This allows security researchers to identify and catalog dangerous websites, analyze the exploits they use, and ultimately get them taken down before they can harm unsuspecting users. It is a proactive approach, taking the fight to the attacker's own territory by posing as a potential victim to uncover their traps. Another specialized category includes malware honeypots, which are specifically designed to mimic the vulnerabilities that certain worms or bots are programmed to exploit. For example, a honeypot might be configured to look like an unpatched system that is vulnerable to a specific ransomware strain. Its sole purpose is to get infected. Once the malware executes within its contained environment, the honeypot captures the binary file, analyzes its behavior, and logs its communication with the command and control servers. This provides an endless supply of fresh malware samples, which is invaluable for antivirus companies and threat intelligence platforms trying to keep up with the rapid evolution of malicious code. Other specialized types include honeypots that emulate industrial control systems to study attacks against critical infrastructure, email honeypots that collect spam and phishing lures, and even database honeypots that tempt attackers with fake tables of sensitive data. Each of these is a custom-built tool for a specific job. The choice of which honeypot to deploy, be it low interaction, high interaction, or a specialized variant, ultimately depends on the organization's goals, its risk tolerance, and the specific threats it aims to understand. This versatility is what makes the honeypot such a powerful and enduring concept in cybersecurity. Let's get hands-on and set up a basic SSH honeypot, Cowrie. The golden rule: never run a honeypot on your main network. Isolation is everything. Use a virtual machine, your digital sandbox, to keep attackers away from your real assets. Start with a clean Ubuntu server installed on your VM. In your virtualization software, set the network adapter to NAT or host only. This keeps your VM online, but shields your real network. This digital quarantine is non-negotiable. It's the foundation of a safe honeypot. Once your VM is isolated, you're ready to install Cowrie. Think of the VM as your digital cage, safe, controlled, and ready for action. Proper isolation is what turns a honeypot from a liability into a powerful tool. Get this step right, and your trap will only ever threaten those who fall for it. With our VM ready, let's build the trap. Cowrie. First, install Python and Git in your Ubuntu VM using the terminal. Create a dedicated, non-privileged user for Cowrie. Never run it as root. Switch to this user and clone Cowrie from GitHub. Copy the default config to and start customizing. Change the hostname to something believable like plant fake files. tempting bait for attackers. Set Cowrie to listen on port 22 for realism, using port forwarding if needed. Configure logging. Cowrie can save detailed session logs or send data to visualization tools like LK or Splunk. The more convincing your setup, the more valuable the intelligence you'll gather. Now, your honeypot is ready to deceive and observe. Time to launch Cowrie and watch the action unfold. Start Cowrie from the terminal. Your honeypot is now live, waiting for attackers. You might see connection attempts within minutes. Bots are always scanning for open SSH ports. Every failed login and command is logged, giving you real-world threat data. Dive into Cowrie's logs to see exactly what attackers do. Commands, files, and tactics. This is your window into the attacker's mind. For deeper insights, feed logs into tools like Kibana to visualize attack origins and patterns. Build dashboards, maps, and charts to spot trends and common attack methods. Monitoring isn't passive. It's active learning, turning attacker behavior into stronger defenses. With every session, you're one step ahead. Your real honeypots reveal the true face of cyber threats. In one case, researchers set up a high-interaction honeypot disguised as a weak office server. After days of bot attacks, a human intruder from Eastern Europe finally broke in. The attacker moved slowly, exploring fake files and accounts, searching for value. Researchers watched as the intruder mapped the system, reading files like Q3 financial projections.xlsx on. The real test, a planted file with fake server admin credentials. The attacker tried to use them, revealing their next move. Every action was logged, exposing the attacker's playbook. The researchers gained priceless insight, all from a carefully crafted trap. The ghost in the machine never knew it was being watched. That's the power of a well-run honeypot. Honeypots also expose the profit-driven side of cybercrime. Researchers deployed honeypots mimicking vulnerable databases across the cloud. Within hours, automated scripts exploited them, not for data, but to install cryptocurrency miners. The attack was swift breach, payload download, and instant mining. The goal? Hijack processing power to mine Monero, not steal information. This revealed a vast automated ecosystem focused on resource theft. Botnets of compromised devices are used for mining and DDoS attacks, not just data theft. The honeypot showed how attackers profit from sheer scale and automation. Understanding these motives helps defenders anticipate and block new threats. Sometimes, the real target is your CPU, not your secrets. A misconfigured honeypot is a disaster waiting to happen. The worst mistake? Failing to isolate your honeypot from your real network. If attackers can reach your genuine assets, you've handed them the keys. Always use VMs with strict network segregation, NAT or host-only networking. Advanced setups use separate hardware and firewalls for total isolation. Assume your honeypot will be compromised. Containment is everything. Forgetting this rule can turn your experiment into a security incident. There are real horror stories. Attackers using poorly isolated honeypots to launch attacks or breach internal networks. Never underestimate the risk. Containment is your first and last line of defense. A honeypot should catch hackers, not invite them in. Another common and dangerous mistake is contaminating your honeypot with real legitimate information. In an attempt to make the decoy more convincing, a well-meaning administrator might be tempted to use real-world data. This could involve using actual employee usernames, cloning a configuration file from a real server, or planting a document that contains genuine, albeit minor, internal company details. This is an exceptionally bad idea. The moment you place any real data onto a honeypot, you are fundamentally misunderstanding its purpose. A honeypot is a disposable decoy, designed to be breached and studied. It should never contain anything you would not want a hacker to see. Using real credentials, even for low-level accounts, is particularly hazardous. Attackers are known to collect and cross-reference usernames and email formats. If they compromise a honeypot and find a list of usernames that follow a real corporate pattern, like firstname.lastname@company.com, they have just gained valuable intelligence for use in phishing campaigns or password spraying attacks against your actual company. You have inadvertently handed them a piece of the puzzle. All data within the honeypot, usernames, passwords, host names, and all fabricated documents must be completely fictitious and have no discernible link to your real organization. Equally useless is a honeypot that is not being monitored. Setting up a honeypot and then forgetting about it is a pointless exercise. A honeypot without active monitoring and log analysis is not an intelligence tool. It is just a silent, vulnerable machine sitting on your network. Its entire value comes from the data it collects. Failing to regularly review the logs means you are missing the early warning signs of an attack, ignoring the valuable insights into attacker tactics, and failing to spot if a sophisticated attacker is attempting to use your honeypot for malicious purposes. The data must be collected, reviewed, and acted upon. Ultimately, these mistakes stem from a failure to maintain a clear strategic purpose. A honeypot is not a set-and-forget security device like a firewall. It is an active intelligence-gathering operation that requires careful planning, strict isolation, and constant vigilance. You must remember its role: to deceive, to study, and to learn, all from a safe distance. By avoiding the pitfalls of poor isolation, data contamination, and negligent monitoring, you ensure your honeypot remains a powerful weapon in your defensive arsenal, rather than a self-inflicted wound waiting to happen. We have explored the power of a single honeypot, a lone decoy designed to lure and study attackers. But what happens when you take this concept to the next level? What if, instead of a single trap, you build an entire network of them? This is the core idea behind a honeynet. A honeynet is not just one honeypot. It is a whole network of interconnected, high-interaction honeypots designed to simulate a small but realistic portion of an organization's actual network. It might include a fake web server, a decoy database server, a mock file server, and even a simulated client workstation, all communicating with each other within a contained virtual environment. The purpose of a honeynet is to provide a much richer and more convincing playground for attackers. A single honeypot can be effective, but a sophisticated intruder might become suspicious if they cannot see or interact with other systems on the network. A honeynet solves this problem by creating a full-fledged, albeit fake, corporate network for them to explore. An attacker who breaches the initial web server can then attempt to pivot to the database server to steal fake customer records or move to the file server to plant fabricated ransomware. This allows defenders to observe a much wider range of attacker behavior, including lateral movement, internal reconnaissance, and data exfiltration techniques. This networked approach provides a far greater depth of intelligence. By watching how an attacker moves between different systems within the honeynet, researchers can understand their strategic priorities and their complete attack lifecycle. Do they immediately seek out the domain controller to gain administrative control over the entire fake network? Or do they focus on quietly stealing data from the database? A honeynet captures this entire narrative, providing insights that are simply impossible to gather from an isolated honeypot. It reveals not just how an attacker breaches the perimeter, but how they operate once they are deep inside a network, a critical piece of the defensive puzzle. Fundamentally, a honeynet elevates the game of deception. It is a high-fidelity simulation of a real target, offering a more compelling and engaging environment that can fool even wary and experienced adversaries. The data collected from a honeynet is incredibly valuable for understanding coordinated attacks, analyzing the behavior of advanced persistent threats, and modeling how a real breach might unfold within your actual infrastructure. It is the difference between studying a single soldier and observing an entire enemy squadron carrying out a complex maneuver. It is the ultimate tool for next-level threat intelligence. Deploying a honeynet opens the door to incredibly advanced defensive strategies that go far beyond simple logging. Because a honeynet is a fully controlled environment, it can be used to study the most dangerous threats in the wild in relative safety. For instance, security researchers use honeynets to capture and analyze the behavior of botnets. By allowing a compromised system within the honeynet to become part of a botnet, they can observe the commands being sent from the botnet's command and control server. This provides direct insight into the botnet's capabilities, its targets, and its infrastructure, which is crucial intelligence for dismantling these vast criminal networks. Another advanced use is the analysis of ransomware. Releasing a new strain of ransomware onto a real network to see what it does would be unthinkable. A honeynet, however, provides the perfect isolated laboratory for this exact purpose. Researchers can intentionally infect a machine within the honeynet with a new ransomware sample and watch its every move. They can see which files it targets first, how it encrypts them, the ransom note it leaves, and how it attempts to spread to other machines within the fake network. This analysis is vital for developing decryption tools and creating defensive strategies to halt the spread of ransomware in real-world incidents. Honeynets are also instrumental in the study of zero-day exploits, vulnerabilities that are unknown to the software vendor and have no patch available. By creating honeynets that mimic popular software and systems, defenders can create a wide net to catch these elusive exploits in the wild. When an attacker uses a previously unseen exploit against a system in the honeynet, the entire attack chain is captured. This information can then be responsibly disclosed to the software vendor, allowing them to develop a patch and protect millions of users before the exploit can be widely used for malicious purposes. The Honeynet becomes a proactive tool for discovering and fixing vulnerabilities. Ultimately, a Honeynet is a dynamic, living battlefield simulation. It allows defenders to move from a passive stance to an active one, not just studying their adversaries, but also testing their own defenses in a realistic context. By directing a controlled attack against a replica of their own systems within a Honeynet, they can identify weaknesses in their security posture before a real attacker does. This level of proactive defense, powered by the intelligence gathered from a fully interactive and deceptive network, represents the pinnacle of modern cybersecurity strategy. It is about understanding the enemy so completely that you can anticipate their every move. Throughout our journey, we have explored the fascinating world of honeypots, from simple decoys to complex, interconnected honeynets. We have seen that these are not just passive traps, but active intelligence-gathering tools that fundamentally change the dynamic of cyber defense. Instead of simply building higher walls and stronger gates, honeypots allow defenders to go on the offensive. They embrace a strategy of deception, using the attacker's own curiosity and greed against them. This represents a profound shift in mindset, moving from purely reactive defense to proactive engagement, where every attack becomes a valuable lesson learned. The true beauty of the honeypot lies in its ability to turn the tables completely. In a conventional cyber attack, the advantage often lies with the intruder. They operate from the shadows, choosing the time and place of their assault, while the defender must be vigilant everywhere, all the time. A honeypot flips this script. It creates an environment where the attacker, believing they are in control, is actually the one being controlled and observed. They become an unwitting source of intelligence, revealing their most valuable secrets, their tools, their tactics, and their intentions, all while thinking they are on the path to victory. This is the art of digital judo, using the opponent's momentum to your own advantage. This strategy empowers defenders with a level of insight that is otherwise impossible to achieve. The data gathered from a honeypot is raw, unfiltered, and comes directly from the source. It provides a clear window into the mind of the adversary, enabling organizations to understand the specific threats they face and to tailor their defenses accordingly. The lessons learned from a honeypot can inform everything from firewall rules and software patches to employee training programs. It is a continuous feedback loop where the actions of the enemy are used to forge a stronger, more resilient shield around the assets that truly matter. Ultimately, setting a honeypot is like building a window into the darkness of the digital underground. It illuminates the methods of those who seek to do harm and provides the knowledge needed to counter them effectively. In the silent, ongoing war of cyberspace, information is the most powerful weapon. By cleverly luring their adversaries into the light, defenders are no longer just waiting for the next attack. They are actively studying the present one to prevent all future ones. It is a testament to the idea that sometimes the most sophisticated defense is not a wall, but a well-laid and inviting trap. As we conclude our deep dive into the world of honeypots, it is clear that cybersecurity is a field that rewards curiosity, creativity, and a willingness to think like your opponent. The concept of the honeypot is a perfect embodiment of this spirit. It encourages us to move beyond a simple checklist of security tools and to think strategically about how we can actively engage with the threats we face. For anyone interested in technology and security, from students just starting their journey to seasoned professionals, the honeypot offers a tangible way to see cyber threats in action, providing a safe and ethical arena for learning and experimentation. The path forward for an aspiring defender involves embracing this mindset of proactive learning. Setting up a simple honeypot like Cowrie on an isolated virtual machine is an achievable project that offers immense educational value. It transforms abstract concepts about malware and hacking into concrete, observable events. Watching the logs of your own honeypot fill up with real-world attack traffic is a powerful experience that drives home the reality of the threats that exist online. It encourages a deeper understanding of network security and fosters the critical thinking skills needed to anticipate and counter the ever-evolving tactics of adversaries. However, this power comes with a great responsibility. As we have stressed, caution and careful planning are paramount. The principles of isolation, using only fake data, and constant monitoring are not just best practices, they are absolute necessities to ensure your learning tool does not become a weapon used against you or others. The curious defender must also be a responsible one, respecting the power of the tools they wield, and prioritizing safety and ethics above all else. This disciplined approach is the hallmark of a true cybersecurity professional, one who understands both the offense and the defense. So, we encourage you to stay curious, to keep learning, and to never stop exploring the incredible technologies that shape our digital world. Whether you go on to build your own honeypot, or simply have a new appreciation for the clever strategies used to protect the internet, you're now better equipped to understand the silent war being fought in the shadows. Remember the lessons of the honeypot. Knowledge is power, deception is a potent tool, and sometimes the very best defense is indeed irresistible bait. By understanding the trap, you learn how to avoid it and ultimately how to build a safer future for everyone online.